build a life that you don't need a vacation from. And I've always kept that in mind, but for the first time, I feel like I'm actually doing it. Over the last 3 months, we've actually done that. We've built a new life for ourselves, and in a way that will address the work-life balance that everyone strives for. Building the van has been hard work, and turning a commercial vehicle into somewhere you want to go home to every single night has been a massive learning curve. For the first time, we're able to design something specifically for our lifestyle and the way we live. But to do that, you sort of have to appreciate the compromises that are necessary. It's only been in the last week or so that we've got the wood burner installed and working to a point where we can now do our cooking on it when we have it alight. And that's been a really enjoyable process, starting to learn how the van works as an entity on its own. It has its own quirks, and the things that we sort of used to consider just fairly boring day-to-day chores are actually taking on a life of their own in a way that I didn't expect to enjoy. Everything takes longer in the van, from prepping the food to actually cooking it, and even things like pre-warming the stove to get it going. We have to preheat the flue to make it easier to light when it's windy or we're not in an ideal situation. So it does force you to have that slower way of life. Hi everyone, the pretty bit of the video is over now, so I'm just going to do a little update. So if you're here for the nice landscape pictures and the sort of scenic bits, then you don't have to stay for this bit if you don't want to. I'm just going to do a little roundup, I suppose. It's been almost a whole month now that we've been full-time in the van, and it's gone so quickly. I'm not sure whether we've found all of our routines yet. I think because we're still in a bit of a transition period, because the van isn't finished yet, so there's a lot of things that we're spending time doing that we wouldn't hopefully have to do when we have sort of all of the storage and facilities in place. This week we got the bathroom area more or less sort of usable, so although we still need to do the ceiling and the flooring and a few bits and pieces, we do have a room that we can go in now should we want to sort of rig the shower up sort of temporarily, although it's not actually going to be fitted anyway. So it's just a case of sort of making things nicer and easier to use, more than sort of not really being able to use them at the moment anyway. So I think we're sort of gonna have a strange transition period probably for a few months yet. We're only working on the van a couple of days each week because we're both working still. I'm full-time at the shop, and Mike sort of does 3 days a week at his job. So I think it's going to take us longer to do these sort of last pretty bits, sort of now we're doing the decorating and things like that, than it actually did to do the main part of the build. But at least we can live in it, and it's nice to actually look forward to going back there in the evening. We've had the stove going. We've sort of found that we are able to cook on it if we do have it going, which is nice. It'll save us having to run the sort of gas hob, hopefully, or on some of the days sort of through winter where we've got the fire going anyway. Um, it actually doesn't take long to heat up at all, so in that respect it's quite nice that we can actually sort of have the fire going while we're doing, you know, other things, making dinner, getting ready for sort of moving the van around for bed, and by the time we're actually ready to settle down, the van's nice and warm, and we don't have to manage the fire anymore. So um, that's sort of been a nice thing we've sort of finally had a go at sort of getting used to, because the fire has only really been sort of usable this last week, as we've sort of got other bits around it done. I think sort of going forward, we're hopefully going into a warmer season now, although end of April, and I think it was only about 5 degrees last night, so it's still not sort of that comfortable. But we should sort of be going into the warmer months now, where we won't need to have the fire going of an evening, and we won't need to sort of make our hot water bottles and things to warm the bed through. So that'll be sort of another thing that we need to sort of learn to kind of get used to, and sort of see how we live in summer and how we live in the winter. And yeah, I think the first year is going to be quite interesting, really, because everything's new to us. And I imagine some of the things that we sort of we'd thought of probably won't turn out, you know, how we imagined, and sort of vice versa. We'll have a few surprises along the way. But the first sort of 3-4 weeks that we've been in there, it's really been amazing. I'm a lot less stressed. I'm a lot happier in myself. Um, the shop is going through some changes as well. So where I've felt that I was sort of stagnating a little bit with the products that we do, we're going to be changing that quite significantly now, because we do have a Vanlife Norfolk range in the pipeline, which does have some crossover with what we're doing already. We already stock a lot of sustainable homeware. We already do the unpackaged soaps, the solid shampoos, the essential oils, the sort of natural home fragrancing, and things like that, which we'll keep doing. Some of those are being rebranded for specifically for the Vanlife Norfolk range. I want to do more of our sort of handmade home decor as well, which I'm hoping I'll be able to actually be making in the van. So things like the sort of wall hangings that I do here at the shop at the moment, I'd like to rig up so that I can actually be making those on the road. I've got a few other ideas of things that I'd like to do in the van, so that potentially sort of part of the year we can actually be travelling a little bit, while keeping a little bit of income coming in. The shop has its own holiday through the winter. We don't open a couple of months of the year just because it's so quiet in town. So those months next year will be sort of really good for us to see how feasible it is for me to carry on sort of doing part of my business on the road. But that's a little way off at the moment. I think for this year we've got hopefully a pop up planned for summer, so that I can give the Vanlife range a bit of a trial. A lot of the products that I want for it are things I've sourced for our van build. Not so much the sort of DIY actual build, but the furnishings, the sort of finishing bits, the products that I've sourced to use in the van on a day-to-day basis, which I would like to actually stock in the shop for others to buy, as well as the sort of just pretty things, and you know, the candles and things that we make anyway. So that's going to be quite nice to kind of get that off the ground, and I think it'll inject a little bit more interest in the shop for me, because we've been running sort of a couple of years now, and it has evolved quite a lot in that time. The products that we stock have sort of grown since we first opened. But I think since my lifestyle has changed a bit, my interests have changed, and I think it's the case that you can't really sell something that you're not really that enthused about yourself. And there are a few ranges that I've got in the shop which don't really inspire me as much anymore. So um, I'm gonna phase those out, and keep a lot of what we're doing, but there'll certainly be changes. There'll be a few things we rebrand. Um, I obviously stock a few products from other people, which I'll keep doing. I tend to only stock products of people I'm friends with anyway, and obviously I want to support them. So um, that won't change, although I probably won't be taking on uh, any more people. I'd like to sort of keep what I've got, but give over a little bit more space to the new things I want to do. Um, so I think the Vanlife Norfolk thing, will evolve from being our van build through to sort of our lifestyle, and then the sort of the business that's hopefully going to pay for that down the road. Everyone needs to earn a living, and I know a lot of van lifers do earn their pennies on the road, whether that's sort of digitally or taking their skill set um, around the country with them, and working sort of as they go. And I certainly would like to do that with the things that I'm good at. And I think it's all a bit of an adventure. So at the moment, I'm grateful that I have got a business that I can run full time. Um, but where that sort of takes me in the long run, it's is still going to be an evolution of its own. I think, because I enjoy having a shop, and I like having a sort of an outlet for the things that we make, but it's not necessarily practical to be a roaming candle maker. So I might need to change some of the products that we do, certainly that I do currently in the workshop, um, and sort of reduce some of the ranges that we do, so that I can sort of make space for new things that I've got lined up. Um, and I think it's good for any business to sort of move with sort of the economy, as much as anything. Sort of people are wanting to buy different things now than they did sort of even 6 months ago. So I think that'll be a good sort of opportunity for us to change a little bit in what we're doing, um, and hopefully allow me some more time to sort of enjoy our van lifestyle. It does sort of make you want to go out and spend more time sort of enjoying life, and less time sitting behind a desk here. um and I think that balance will sort of find its own place down the line. But I think we're looking at least sort of 6 or 9 months transition, as I get all my ideas sort of into some sort of order, and while we're finishing the actual build on the van. But for anyone that sort of does follow both the van page and the shop page, um, you'll probably see a lot more crossover. I would like to sort of make them more sort of interactive with each other, because at the end of the day, it's our business that has afforded us the opportunity to live a slightly different life, and I think it's important to kind of keep those things together. So um, hopefully, if you do follow sort of Folly and Roses, you'll come and join us over on Vanlife Norfolk, and vice versa, and you'll get to see sort of how our business is supporting sort of a different lifestyle that's better for, certainly for my mental health and sort of our general well-being, um, and the economic challenges that everyone's facing now. I think we've done this at a time that has been really sort of fortuitous for us, moving out of rented accommodation, and utilities going up, and I've got a little bit of that at the shop. Obviously, you know, it's not just domestic rates that have gone up. My shop electricity and internet and other bills have been affected as well. So we're not out of it entirely, but just sort of not having the domestic side of things to deal with. Um, it's given us different things to be interested in now. You know, I'm not so concerned about what's going on uh, in the news in that respect. You know, there are other things going on in the world that sort of are more important than our own life at the moment. So I think, you know, the last few months has given me a lot of new things to think about, and we're slowly sort of making changes that will make this sort of transition work for us, but also, you know, I didn't expect it to affect how I felt about my work and the shop as much as it has. Especially only after sort of a month of sort of having a slightly more transient lifestyle. We never were going to sort of do the big adventure travels with it, but there are some days that I would actually just like to work from the van, and hopefully sort of maybe a couple of years down the line that's something that I can make happen. Um, but we'll see. I think it's an interesting time to follow the shop. Um, we've got a few sort of immediate changes that I'm making here with regards to sort of ranges that I'm sort of discontinuing. Um, but I hope if you sort of are enjoying the tiny home living and sort of more sustainable living, doing things off grid so that you're not so reliant on using, you know, your power and your electricity and things like that. It's an interesting direction for our business to take. That most of the products in the shop now are things that will fit into, you know, alternative lifestyles and a more peaceful way of living. You know, it's people always sort of say, you know, have a life that you don't need vacation from, and that's absolutely what I'm trying to do. And we're halfway there. So I think if you are following us, hopefully, you know, we'll give you some thoughts as to how you can kind of slow your life down a little bit. I've I've never sort of enjoyed a fast paced life. I'm not a city person at all. And I think the more time we spend in the van, I think the more off grid and out of touch I want to be, as much as I can while I'm running a high street business, obviously. And that's something that, you know, as I say, is evolving. So um, I think I'll leave it there for now. If you are interested in what we're doing, sort of work wise, then by all means follow us on Folly and Roses on Instagram. I don't really post to Facebook and Twitter for the business anymore, but we are over on Instagram, so do follow us there, and you'll see sort of maybe what we've been doing and what we're going to do. And if you already follow the shop and not necessarily the van side of things, then we're on Vanlife Norfolk on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Um, and yeah, I think it'll be an interesting 6 months because it's not a van life journey that's sort of really similar to anything I've seen elsewhere. So it's, I suppose, an experiment in sort of showing you that there's a way to do it that suits your lifestyle. You don't have to go off traveling. You don't have to kind of give up your job. You don't have to kind of just go straight off grid and abandon everything. You know, you can make it work for you. You can use it to eliminate your domestic costs, but, you know, spend your time saving if that's what you want to do. And I think it's good to see that there's so much variety that you can do in alternative lifestyles. You know, if you feel trapped in your way of life, you know, because you're working to pay for a house just so that you've got somewhere to live while you're going to work, you know, it doesn't have to be that way. I think you sort of have to reevaluate the effort that you're willing to put in. It's everything takes longer when you're living in a small space. You have to be a lot more organised. You have to think about things a lot more in advance. Certainly the way that we do it. But at the end of the day, you know, we're finding that it's a better lifestyle for us. And I think that's the thing. You kind of can't just sort of say van life is any one thing. I think it's so personal to everybody doing it. And I know a lot of the YouTube videos are people who are traveling and living off grid, whether it's sort of full time or, you know, just now and again. But for us, it is just an alternative place to live while we continue at the moment a fairly normal kind of 9 till 5 existence. Um, but as I say, even sort of the first month of doing that, it has made me want to change sort of significant parts of the way I live, and the way I sort of feel that I want to live in the future. So yeah, hopefully it'll be an interesting ride, and I think I'll probably do more video updates like this at the end of our normal YouTube videos. So if you want to watch the whole thing, by all means do. If you found this tedious, I won't be offended if, you know, next time you want to just watch the pretty bits and cut off after those. But I think it's also important to kind of clarify how van life kind of is fitting into our otherwise fairly normal life. It's just a case of making it work for you. So if we can help you do that, if you have any questions, let us know. I don't have any regular routine at the moment for making and sort of doing admin on the videos, but I am usually able to sort of get back to people fairly promptly. It does work around, you know, business, and some of the places that you stay in Norfolk definitely don't have a good signal. So if you do come here on your holidays, bear that in mind, because some places, even in town, it's absolutely appalling. So my connectivity is sort of a bit hit and miss, but while I am here at the shop, at least I do have broadband, so I can make the most of that. But yeah, let us know if you have any questions, or you've got sort of, you want to know where we've found things, sourced things, anything to do with the build. Just ping me a message or leave a comment, and I'll try and get back to you with some sort of sensible answer fairly soon. But otherwise, I hope that wasn't too tedious for you. I know I rambled on a little bit longer than I intended to, but that happens. So as I say, if next time you want to just watch the pretty bits, by all means do. I won't be offended. But otherwise, have a great week, and I'm gonna go and get on with my day job now.